Hello, my name is Brian Hack, and I would like to share my vision to change, share, leave the world. The ideas that will be presented are of my own opinions and thoughts, and do not reflect those of the National Space Society. I served in the United States Navy for 9 years as a sonar technician, have attended various colleges within the Maricopa County Community College District, and received my associates in arts from Glendale Community College last year. My major is mathematics, and I am a member of several clubs such as the Astronomy Club. 4 years ago, in 2015, during my last year in the Navy, I suddenly felt wrong about always thinking of how to best wage war, and turned to thinking of peacefully coexisting with others and how to best maintain such a community. With all the negativity being discussed in both 2015 and 2016, especially that which surrounded the American election cycle, I realized that the best method to maintain peace would be to make available the ability to distance ourselves from others so that we can come back with a clearer mind. Thus, I realized that if space travel were achieved to the point that even a vision-impaired person like myself could afford such a luxury, then many problems we face today may solve themselves due to the presence of many cooler heads being available. While we face numerous problems, such as climate change, overpopulation, and unsustainable practices, I believe that achieving space travel will help us alleviate and solve these issues faster than waiting to solve these problems before placing emphasis on space travel. Also, achieving space travel will include objectives which overlap with these other issues. By achieving space travel, we can combat climate change by shifting production to space-based industry. We can alleviate population pressure by finding new places to live, such as space stations along Earth's orbit around the Sun instead of Mars or the Moon itself. And we can create more sustainable processes by increasing our ability to produce objects and foods on a larger scale where resolving minor inefficiencies yields better rewards. Although countries, such as America, may endeavor to achieve space travel on their own, I believe that an international effort would be more beneficial to humanity. Not only would we achieve space travel sooner, we could heal wounds from history and the present by working together. By working together, we could access more useful locations, such as the large stretch of land along the equator in Africa. And by industrializing those areas, we could help establish peace, security, and prosperity in areas affected by past colonialism. At the moment, we spend a large amount of money to access space. In order to make space more accessible, we must improve our industrial foundation. In order to improve our industry, we must improve our economical foundation. In order to improve economy, we must improve our educational foundation. In order to improve education, we must establish some common ground to allow for trust to be formed and for communication to flow. It is here in the chain of space, industry, economy, education, and trust and communication that the efforts of achieving space travel overlaps with the current efforts of resolving climate change, overpopulation, and unsustainable practices. What can we do as individuals to support this effort? Learn who you are, what you like about life, and how you want your world to be in the near to distant future. Share this information with others, and find out who they are, what they like about life, and how they want their world to be in the near to distant future. Ask how you and the others can help each other create your futures. Work together and look after each other. Repeat this process while making sure you fulfill your own responsibilities as well as take care of yourself. Dream, of what space travel will mean to your life and work towards gaining skills in solving problems with others. In order to show what one ordinary person can do when living in a supportive community and with accessible literature, I'll summarize important works I wrote while attending community colleges, as well as show how I use my love of computers to arrive at where I am today. With computers, there are two important models: the input processing output model and the OSI networking model. The input processing model is a three-part flowchart consisting of input, such as this paper, which my speech is written on; processing, such as performed by my brain through the optical nerves; and output, such as what you're hearing from my voice, or such as you're hearing my voice. The OSI networking model is illustrated as an upside-down pyramid consisting of 7 layers, and that rests on its point, the physical layer. The physical layer is made up of the wireless and hardwired signals that are transmitted through Wi-Fi and cables. All actions of a computer can be described as a series of input-output sequences, and the important part of networking is that the computers must be connected on the physical layer before any other layer can work. People can also be seen in the same way, due to our brains being a processing unit. And people must have a physical means to communicate, whether it be by speaking, writing letters, or shaking hands. Without this physical layer, we can only act as if someone exists, and generally are unable to communicate. With computers, that act of pretending is called a simulation. Moving up the OSI networking model with people in mind, we can make further analogies for skills and languages. When we learn skills, we are writing programs for ourselves to carry out when presented with the proper inputs. Much like many programming languages exist, many languages exist for humans to create, discuss, and perform skills. And just as there are many computer networking protocols, for us, these could be seen as a daily language we work and play with. There are many languages which we use to communicate with others. When studying linguistics and learning languages, I wrote a paper that presented evidence that there are no innate abilities, that a universal grammar may only appear to exist due to the similar design of our bodies and our brain, in addition to extensive interactions of civilizations throughout history, as well as that adult language learners can pick up languages faster and more efficiently than children can, if properly motivated. By properly motivated, that would mean simply that there is an interest, whether it be a friendly environment, a romantic interest, or the aspiration to be employed. I believe that this observation in a linguistic context carries over to all intellectual processes, and I stress that people should pick up a college course for the fun of learning and exploring instead of simply for a grade. As a smoker, I have written 2 papers on that subject. In the second paper, I use concepts from quantum mechanics to help outline the process of identity changes and decisions, such as a decision to quit smoking. The first paper was policy-oriented, expressing a policy of tolerance, and had led me to imagining combining several economic models together in a manner similar to how physicists had created M theory from several conflicting string theory models. And I expressed the need to communicate with smokers despite the possible stereotypes, both of smokers as well as the dangers of smoking. This idea of opening communication and rewriting stereotypes is a central concept to many of my undergraduate works. As a veteran who has sailed through and interacted with the Middle East, I have spent a significant amount of time towards better understanding the third major civilization in today's world, the Arab and Islamic civilization. It is from this study that I discovered how similar to us they are, as well as how to interact meaningfully with them and build communities with them. Having sat through lectures on Western civilization and then practicing learning Arabic, forming relationships and friendships with people of Middle Eastern heritage, and attending Arabic humanities courses, I found a culture which resembles what Western civilization used to be, what Western and Eastern civilizations aspire to in the present day, as well as many similar stories which we experience ourselves, whether as civilians or as veterans. They're people as well, so I do my best to give them space, and when the opportunity arises, to befriend them. I find the process to be easier due to many similar outlooks on life, which Americans tend to tell to their children and watch in their media, yet do not practice in their own life. This would be the building of communities to support each other instead of simply to make a dollar. To rotate the position of host and guest instead of always attempting to be the hottest thing since sliced bread. This is a stereotype I've formed of my fellow Americans, so it does not truly exist. Some aspects may be true, and there are many great people in America who I'm generalizing in an unfair manner. By presenting this stereotype, I hope to call attention to the improvements we need to make in our own society so that I can be proven wrong and that this stereotype can be thrown into the archives. Turning now from the Arab and Islamic civilization towards the Eastern civilization, I would like to call attention to a document from Japan which was written around 1906 during the rapid westernization process which the Meiji Restoration had initiated. The document is called The Moral Code of Yukichi Fukuzawa, and the writer describes the life of the academic Yukichi Fukuzawa. This man saw a need for change in society due to the removal of numerous societal barriers and had penned 29 short statements with explanations that were an attempt to give a short idea of how we can maintain discipline and live peacefully together. Yukichi Fukuzawa realized that even though this is not a complete guide to morality, he had also stressed that religion has a place in society. While some phrasing may wish to be modified, I digitized this public domain work and have placed it with my collection of academic works. Seeing as how the individual and their community is integral to our success in achieving space travel through forming trust and initiating communication, strengthening our education, economic, and industrial foundations, I hope that my journey in exploring the human condition has found interesting and useful observations that you will take with you after I leave. Before that, I would like to present 2 questions which I attempted to answer in this last month. These 2 questions would be, first, what do you do when you meet someone who does not match any pattern, stereotype, or characterization you have? Second, how do we ensure that when we send our first colony to Mars, that there will be no discrimination or prejudice? For the first question, what do you do when you meet someone who is completely unknown? I responded with, I would walk up and say hi with a smile. The main reason I presented this, and it was understood by the person that asked, was that this is a friendly gesture to help build a relationship. Later, I gave 2 other reasons. A show of friendliness will surprise a hostile person, and if the other person's intentions are malicious, the person initiating the contact has more time to analyze and react to the situation. For the second question, How can we prevent discrimination from occurring on our first Mars colony? I had to take a few days to think about this. I ended up relating this question to a similar question of how do we prevent conflict from occurring among members of a group who are of the same background? Since over time, there will always be some incident that will cause bitterness between two members, regardless of their similarity or diversity, I believe that both questions are answered with, that is impossible. After arriving at that conclusion, I began to think of ways to mitigate and repair issues that could disturb group unity. Thus, my answer is that by promoting discipline and mediation, discrimination and other issues can be resolved, leading to a high probability that we can prevent discrimination from occurring on our first Mars colony. To ensure success, I believe that this can be done by making sure that people are trained to handle disputes, that a system of secret polling be implemented and respected, such as that in America, and that records are maintained. In other words, we should stress discipline, the suspension of judgment, and innocent before proven guilty. These are concepts which I've become aware of and attempt to live up to thanks to my experiences in the military, college, as a traveler, and a fellow citizen. Thank you for listening to me, and I look forward to hearing from you, as well as working with you in creating a better community, a better civilization, and a path to space. Have a great night. Live long and prosper.